2015 is shaping up to be a lot like 2014 when it comes to disappointing, overhyped AAA games. Case in point, this game. You guys trademarked the year 1886? I didn't even know you could do that. George Orwell must be kicking himself in the grave for not thinking of that one. Also, speaking of George Orwell, don't think I didn't notice how close this title sounds to 1984. I know it's a full century before 1984 and even ends with a 6, but damn if I don't have my suspicions. Cinematic Letterbox. Why is this a thing in games so often now? Start with a POV opening. That will really make the player feel connected to the character they spend the rest of the game playing as in third person. Also, is it just me or does every game start in medias res these days? Did everyone forget the benefits of the cold opening?
I was just getting started. Not to worry. We'll come back and have another go later.
British villains are required to have one of two accents, Cockney or posh. Of course, I think that's only because those are the easiest accents to identify. Ain't no one commanded the Death Star gonna speak with a Welsh or Geordie accent. As a red-blooded American, redcoats get an automatic sin.
You're about ready. These things take time. Put him back in.
What exactly are you doing that takes time? You're standing in an empty corner looking at the floor. It's almost like the writers just came up with a half-ass excuse as to why you were distracted when Galahad attacks your partner. Oh. Quick time events.
Come on,
If it was that easy for you to escape, why didn't you do it any of the other multiple times they brought you here for waterboarding? Or were you just loosening the bolt all those other times just so you could pull it out now? More quick time events. Even more fucking quick time events. Seriously, this game puts Resident Evil 6 to shame in that regard. 10 minutes of crawling and staggering. And with this game's playtime, that's a significant amount of time to waste. Cast iron padlocks can be broken with 2 whacks from a pistol grip. And why would you have this tunnel in your prison in the first place? It serves no other purpose that I can see other than to give escaping prisoners a way to move around.
The convict everyone's talking about. There's only one way out of here. Walking Dead, that's what you are.
If your plan is to piss off the guy aiming a gun at you, you are doing a remarkable and cliche job of it. These guards open fire as soon as they see Galahad and the guard walking out of the elevator, knocking both of them back into the elevator, which proceeds to start moving again without anyone having touched the controls. Steampunk. Still the worst genre in science fiction. This game sure is pretty, I'll give it that. And that just so happens to be the game's only selling point. If Sony wanted a cinematic graphical showcase, they should have just called it Rise Son of Rome and released it on the PS4's launch. 5 minutes of reading newspapers and slowly walking through buildings and narrow streets. David Cage games start out with more action than this. I see that Victorian England was well ahead of its time when it came to equal opportunity employment in the military. Not that I want to sin this game for having empowered women, but when you apply modern human rights as if they're no big thing to time periods where said rights didn't exist, you create one hell of a jarring moment for anyone who knows anything about history and how everyone in those days was a prejudiced asshole when compared to today's standards.
How did you arrive here so quickly?
This game is trying to convince me that spending 5 minutes slowly walking here with the sprint button disabled was fast.
I must admit, you do move fast for a man of your age.
I'm not cursed to be reminded of his decrepitude by a fair damsel.
My lord, this damsel would never be so callous as to do such a thing.
Sure is he.
Anytime you introduce a mentor and his protege, you can bet that the protege will be a smartass that constantly quips about how old the other is and how young and fast they are. I hate it.
Sure you don't need help, love?
Do you mean a strong man to take control of things?
That's right.
Just stay out of our way. I'd hate for you to get shot by mistake.
I expect we'll be seeing this type of scene far more often in games now that female characters have to be seen as equally tough and badass as men, and scenes like this are the quickest and easiest way of getting it across that this girl doesn't take shit from any man. Designed by politically correct checklist sure is great. Brits, even in the 18th century, knew how to celebrate winning and losing a football game. There's something about Englishmen using stick-handle grenades that just doesn't seem right, yet makes more sense than when Space Marines use them in Gears of War, so go figure.
Everything to your liking thus far?
Quite. Just another ordinary London morning.
Indeed.
Although I do hope that was only the beginning.
There's nothing like forcing 2 characters into an elevator to squeeze out some awkward character development.
Ladies first.
Are you going to let him get away with that? You were clearly set up as the take-no-bullshit female character according to the last scene, and that was sexism according to all the Tumblr blogs I've ever read on the subject.
Sir, General Lafayette is in the next room.
But we just finished a gunfight in this room. You're telling me the other member of our team was sitting in the next room just chilling and hitting on a woman while that was going on? And the woman was okay with being hit on while guns were being fired just a few feet away?
I assure you, mademoiselle, that only the vow of fidelity prevents me from accepting your invitation.
Oh, Marquis, you mustn't leave now.
Unfortunately, my lady, my duty compels me elsewhere.
Frenchmen only care about women cliché. What is this random lady doing standing around in a building where escaped convicts went on a killing spree just moments ago?
Possible. Strange.
Yeah, it's inconceivable that the guy could ever talk to some other guy you don't know. Werewolves and vampires are not cool anymore after Twilight, and you have both of them in this game. Give it 10 years for them to make a comeback first. Also, zombies overplayed, and I really think it's time mummies make a comeback. So you just transformed into a werewolf so you could run away better? What kind of chicken shit werewolf is this? The werewolf fights in this game are a special type of disappointing. What should be an awesome encounter ends up being nothing more than werewolves running at you in a straight line, pressing X to dodge when they get close, then shooting them while they run away again before killing them with a button prompt.
Monsieur! What happened?
Izzy and Lafayette show up at the same time only after Galahad has already single-handedly killed 2 werewolves and now needs to chase a 3rd one down the street.
I slew most of them. The last one got away. Grain, I need your arc gun. I'll head up to street level and keep after him. You two go that way and head him off.
Why don't you all just go up on the street after it? Galahad going up alone while the other 2 try to head it off by using underground tunnels doesn't make a lot of sense, since if you're underground you have no idea which direction it ran in, and if it runs in a direction where the tunnels don't go, you're kinda screwed. How was this werewolf still right in the vicinity of the metro exit? It had a huge head start on Galahad, and Galahad stopped to tell his team the situation and exchange weapons.
Out of the way!
I get that shooting lightning is badass, but it wouldn't really make for an effective long-range weapon. How could you possibly aim it accurately enough to pull off a shot like that?
We had reason to suspect a rebel incursion, Commissioner.
An elementary conjecture.
Elementary? Oh man. You guys dragged Arthur Conan Doyle or Sherlock Holmes into this, didn't you?
Please, indulge me with your musings, Commissioner.
Even Englishmen in Victorian England didn't talk like this.
Well, first the rebellion, and then this Jack, and the Ripper murders.
Jack the Ripper too? Is everyone who is famous from this era going to make an appearance? Should I make a checklist with things like Oliver Twist and War of the Worlds on it, or are you guys saving those for the sequel?
Where have you been? Bloody London traffic.
Did traffic problems exist before cars were invented? I'm going to guess probably not.
Centuries have passed, but our order has remained steadfast in its sacred mission to preserve the balance between man and half-breed. Such was the quest of our founder, King Arthur.
And all of you should know this already since you're all ordained knights of the Round Table, but I just feel like stating it for the record. Obvious exposition is obvious.
Well, the Lord Chancellor will thus agree to the urgency of a mission into Whitechapel.
Whitechapel is a matter for the civil authorities.
When the noble Arthur sought to contest for truage with the Roman Emperor Lucius, he did not trouble himself with issues of jurisdiction.
Do not presume to quote history to me, Sir Percival.
Councils only exist in fiction to butt heads and create drama with the main character cliché.
Sir Percival has cause, Lord Chancellor. The situation in Whitechapel may need to be addressed.
Does Lord Darwin speak with the blessing of the peers?
Oh, for fuck's sake. It's like Victorian fan fiction at this point.
What says the order of Her Majesty's Royal Knights in the matter of Whitechapel? Aye or nay?
Nay.
The nays have it.
Shouldn't you do a roll call first? What if the nays are just yelling louder than the yays?
Nicola, how fares your friend Edison these days?
Thomas and I are not on speaking terms.
Just stop it already. Did Nikolai Tesla really need to be the Q in this game?
Any further news of the trouble in Grosvenor Square?
Police are investigating. And investigating.
Lycans. On the United India Company's front doorstep. What do you make of it?
Also, that's another showing of the character development elevator. Hacking minigames are so prevalent in games these days they even shoehorn them into steampunk settings.
Why not give the Frenchman to Galahad?
Racism. I see that the whole moving wooden beam loading gates from Thief made a return in this game. Must be something to do with steampunk genre that makes that a thing. Press triangle to eat this apple and look like more of an asshole. Come at me, bro stance.
Detriment, they call you. A disgrace to the Empire. I say, it's the Empire that's a disgrace. The Queen sits in her palace on a fat arse, drinking East India tea and living off the sweat of other people's brows.
Communism. I expect Karl Marx will be showing up at some point now. Inching through closed space loading gates.
Oi! There's no weapons allowed in the establishment. You want to stay, you leave it here.
I'll take your guns for safekeeping, but those giant knives in your back, those you can keep.
Join me upstairs, love.
Another time.
I can show you things you've never seen before.
I don't doubt it.
I think I've had to visit a brothel every time I play a steampunk game. There was one in Thief and one in Dishonored. Are all of these devs using the same playbook, or are they just that unoriginal with level design? The Order's boob rendering technology is 3 years behind Metro Last Light, but its penis rendering technology, well, I guess that stands alone since I can't think of any game that puts more detail into rendering a guy's dick. I see that the guy who paints climbable ledges with white paint is still finding work.
Look, monsieur. God did not save this queen.
This guy had a clear shot, a scope, and ample time to line up his shot on an unmoving target, but still managed to miss by a good 3 feet.
Percival. Percival, do you read me?
Save your breath, monsieur. The buildings are blocking the signal.
But you're above the buildings, and Galahad was using his communicator underground the other day. Leave it to Steampunk to make binoculars more complicated than they need be.
Let's invite a few friends, shall we? Air Command, this is Galahad. I need response from anyone in the vicinity of Whitechapel.
Sir Galahad, this is Sentinel-5. We are 3 leagues northeast of Whitechapel.
You just said a second ago that the buildings were blocking any signal. Now it's no problem. For some reason, Galahad uses Morse code to give the airship a new heading, even though he has direct radio contact and voice communication. Guess they just really wanted to use the PS4's touchpad for something. Man, I wish I was playing Little Big Planet right now.
Hey!
Why shout hey when you had a clear shot? Did you really just want to see the look on his face before you shot him? Guess you'll never know now. Galahad took the thermite magazine off his gun and used it to burn through a boiler blocking their escape route, so why is the thermite magazine back on the gun when the camera cuts back to him?
Galahad, did you?
I saw it.
So what?
Half-breeds.
Is calling a werewolf against the rules now, just like calling a zombie a zombie? Do we need a bunch of equally stupid sounding names as stand-ins for the original? Why can't we just call classic movie monsters by their fucking names?
We need to disperse them. Quickly.
Call it in.
Sentinel-5, this is Galahad. Do you copy?
Sir Galahad, this is Sentinel-5. On standby.
Would you look at that? You're on street level now and your radio is still working just fine.
Fulton deployment in 5, 4, 3, 2...
Incoming! All devices off!
1.
The airship drops a sonic payload to disperse the werewolves in the hospital, but Galahad acts like it's an EMP and orders all electronics turned off. Am I missing something here?
That's our window. Go! Find out where these bloody things are coming from. I'll cover the rear!
And by rear, he means the front of the building where there is nothing to guard against since all the werewolves were scared away by the bomb. Suddenly I'm getting Resident Evil flashbacks. This werewolf just threw Galahad through the window a second ago, but it takes it nearly a minute to jump through the same window itself to chase after him.
I can smell you, human.
Fuck. You don't have to smell him to know he's in this room. You just tossed him in here a second ago, and he clearly hasn't left via the only exit behind you. I remember the good old days of video games when we got to fight the boss of a level. Nowadays you watch a cutscene and press a button when a prompt pops up until you win. Protagonist keeps fading in and out while a side character is in mortal danger cliché. Even after the devs went out of their way to show what an independent and strong woman you were with that earlier scene, you still end up getting saved by a man and princess carried to a bed.
No, Gray, the ward. To the left, there's something you need to see.
What is it?
Izzy is the one who told Galahad there was something important he needed to see in the ward, but the room the important stuff was in was locked. So how did Izzy know what was in here and what Galahad needed to see it?
Galahad, where in the world have you been?
Percival, we may have a situation on our hands.
What is it?
First, call in Nicola.
Galahad just told Percival to call in Tesla for weapons while leaving the hospital, and by the time he gets to the front entrance, Tesla is already there and finishing a conversation with Percival.
Isabeau and I will do reconnaissance. We need eyes on the ground amongst the guests.
And imagine me with nothing to wear. I suppose I'll have to go dress shopping.
Haha, clothes jokes. Because she's a woman. Get it?
Who's the old man you were talking to on Mayfair and Whitechapel?
The old man. It's a long story. One that I will share with you when the time is right.
Like in the sequel, because this game never answers that.
We seized the ship in the name of liberty.
Also, senseless murder, since you have no idea if those guards were working with the rebellion or just guys doing their job.
What the bloody hell was that?
A bomb just detonated on the front engine.
I get the feeling that if a bomb went off on a dirigible, it would not be in the air anymore. They weren't exactly known for sturdiness.
Percival, I've lost the mark. I'm maintaining pursuit.
Negative. Regroup on the lifeboats. We have a bigger problem. The rebels have a second device on board.
And you know that how exactly? Also, if the rebels could just blow up the ship and kill everyone on board, including their target, Lord Hastings, why didn't they just do that in the first place, rather than try to ambush him during the dinner party?
We need weapons. There's a guard station nearby. We can avail ourselves of the company's arms.
He says this, yet both of them are clearly strapped with primary and secondary arms.
Friend, you don't have to do this.
You sure can save a lot of development time and money by cutting to black rather than rendering the explosion and crashing of the airship. Galahad actually survives being right at ground zero of the explosion and the resulting crash back to Earth and the inferno caused by that. Blackwater be damned, he should be dead from one of those. I've begun to notice a trend in games that in levels that are on fire, all you do is slowly stagger around due to injuries. I don't like this. Even though Galahad and Percival were at the same location during the explosion and both have Blackwater healing factors, Percival was the only one to die. Guess someone had to fulfill the heroic male quota for this game. And the character development elevator makes yet another appearance. This thing better be listed in the credits.
Because he was blessed by this, The Grail. The black water that courses through our veins.
I'm not sure if the Grail is supposed to be the Holy Grail or not, but if it is, it kind of conflicts with the whole atheist vibe some of the knights have had throughout the game with their assertions that there is no God.
The Lord Chancellor perhaps speaks too harshly. He would do well to remember that Sir Percival's force did uncover evidence of a rebel effort against the...
Circumstantial evidence!
I don't really see how you can call all of the evidence of the hospital circumstantial, especially after the rebels launched an attack on Lord Hastings, which is exactly what the evidence pointed to.
Sir Galahad, this matter is not yet over. Someone will yet answer for Sebastian Mallory's death!
I like to yell at the end of my sentences! Why exactly didn't the rebels finish off Lord Hastings right here? Galahad had to fight his way here through them, so they obviously had Hastings' carriage surrounded well before that. Just set it on fire or something. Got to hand it to the climbable ledge painter. When he's presented with something he can't paint, the man can improvise.
Where is she? Where? Tell me!
Galahad just engaged Jack Bauer mode.
Whitechapel. Brothel.
Wait, you mean to tell me that this brothel in Whitechapel was collaborating with the rebellion? Why did the owner and the girls not out the obvious knights to the rebellion soldiers who were looking for them when they were here earlier?
We have much to discuss.
We have much to discuss, cliché.
We are more alike than you think.
We have nothing in common.
You and me are not so different, cliché.
What secrets? I do not have time for games.
There is little I can say to sway your convictions. But there are things I can show you, to give you the explanation you need.
I can't tell you, I can only show you, cliché. So far this meeting with the rebel leader is firing in all cliché cylinders.
Hanging up your colors so soon?
The Order cannot be seen as having any part of this.
The whole latter half of this game will be spurred into happening by this single short-sighted decision.
This is private property.
Ah, I feared as much. I was lost in the tunnels.
Who the devil are you?
Another lost traveler in this infernal city, it appears.
Galahad tries to fool the guard into believing he's just some guy who got lost and ended up in the wrong place. All the while he has a pistol strapped to his chest. And the difficult part to believe here is that the guard buys into it.
A patrol is bound to pass this way sooner or later.
Just a moment longer.
Sniper!
Once again, a sniper with a clear shot at an unmoving target manages to hit absolutely nothing. Also, how the hell was she planning to open the gate by sticking a knife through the front like that? And if she could have opened it somehow like that, then it stands to reason that she could have done it just as easily from the other side without having to climb over and expose herself to sniper fire. Bad guy's gun jams right when he has the main character in his sights, cliché.
Look, Hard Knight. See the evil we both fight against.
Vampires. It can't be.
So the United Indian Trading Company is transporting vampires to the US. For what reason the game never tells, but Indian trading companies are apparently the specter of steampunk fiction.
The half-breeds are consolidating their power. With the protection of the Lycans in your land, Hastings and his vampire ilk are spreading disease throughout your...
Lord Hastings, he can't be one of them.
Also, if Lord Hastings is a vampire, that only begs the question of why exactly do the vampires of the dock need to be transported in boxes if they can look like humans and walk around in sunlight like Hastings can?
Many have witnessed in Whitechapel your noble lord roaming the streets late at night preying on downtrodden women.
The Ripper killings.
That is what you call them.
Oh, I was wondering how that was going to tie into everything. Still disappointing.
How do you think the murderer still continues to evade Commissioner Doyle's dragnet?
Holy shit, the police commissioner at the beginning was Arthur Conan Doyle. I was half joking when I said that. I guess putting Sherlock Holmes in the game would have been a step too far even for them. But they figured they could sort of get away with it by sticking this author in instead. Well, that was piss easy to kill. Why are these things a bigger threat than the werewolves?
I never thought to see you again, daughter. How did you find us?
There's no time.
How to explain a miraculous Deus Ex Machina rescue? One character must ask how they found them, and the other must answer with, "There's no time to explain." This effectively hand waves away the otherwise glaring plot hole.
What? What do you see?
I don't know. A stranger. Someone I'm not sure I can trust anymore. Whatever it is, for God's sake, tell me.
Not this time, is he? And you do well to stay clear of me. For your own good.
For all of his centuries of experience in serving the Order, Galahad seems to be completely blinded by grief enough to not only not bring back any proof of his claims that the United India Company under the direction of Lord Hastings is working with werewolves to spread vampirism, but is also rather quick to turn Ronnie's "don't trust anyone" into "ignore the concerns of my closest friends" and team up with a Knight Commander who seems a bit too eager to team up and infiltrate the United India House.
It was all rather... what is the word the Commissioner is so fond of? Oh yes, elementary.
Wah wah.
Knight! Over here! You will want to see this. These are shipments that were sent to my homeland.
A book that big, and she turns to the one page full of evidence that the United India Company is shipping vampires around the world on her first try. Oh damn, Lord Hastings is a vampire! Oh wait, Ronnie already told Galahad that. So much for the big reveal. Damn, they really went all out on the penises in this game. Kind of impressive, really.
I thank you, Sir Lucan, for delivering these meddlers.
Deal with them. And do not fail us.
Lucan is a traitor. Didn't see that one coming. Yes, I did.
Galahad, stay where you are.
Wait, I can explain.
I said, don't move.
You arrive in good time.
We received report of a disturbance.
Yes, Sir Galahad stormed in here with a filthy band of rebels intent on killing me.
It's a lie.
Oh, see the result of that little incursion.
You know, you could start explaining yourself. Tell them to go upstairs and find the dead rebel whose blood was sucked out, the 2 dead werewolves, the logbook full of evidence. All of that would at the very least cast doubt on Lord Hastings and Lucan.
Lord Hastings, you have identified the prisoner as your assailant?
Sir Galahad infiltrated our headquarters late night, accompanied by the rebel leader and her followers.
You're not even going to defend yourself at your own trial? Come on, just say something. Lucan and Hastings are right there. Wouldn't the Order have some kind of method for determining if someone is a werewolf or a vampire?
Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty.
There are way fewer guilty verdicts than there are knights at this table.
The sentence is death.
If you found Galahad guilty and sentenced him to death, why were those 2 guards torturing him at the beginning of the game? And Tesla knew Galahad would throw himself into the river to escape, so he'd already prepared a boat to rescue him before he drowned. How?
2 days. It has already been 2 days. We cannot leave him here like this.
I have done what I can. It is not for me to protect him now. I will call upon him if he lives through this ordeal.
But only in the sequel. Can't go explaining who I am or why I'm important just yet.
Do not be a fool, Nicolas.
I do not have a choice. If I'm gone too long, they will suspect something.
What if they already know? You have helped enough. Let us handle matters from now on.
There is still so much for me to do, Lady Lakshmi.
Like give the game a final level and objective. The Blackwater's been able to instantly heal broken backs, gunshots, and stab wounds, but nearly drowning? That shit takes days to recover from.
Salvage what you can and go. I have unfinished business at the palace.
Have you lost your senses? The palace is the last place you should show yourself.
I have to get Nicola out of there. I owe him that much.
I mean, otherwise this game would just peter out at the end, and this was the best we could do for a climax.
So be it, Knight.
Do you not know? I am a knight no longer.
A knight you are not, monsieur. But are you a turncoat or a patriot?
Yeah, there was no way you heard him say that from one floor up with a hallway and several walls in between.
I knew you would return, brother.
Come out of the shadows, damn you!
No one can ever locate another person's general location using sound alone. It's like they all have only one working ear during scenes like this.
You and I, we are not that different.
Hey, you already had Ronnie say that line earlier. How many people is Galahad similar to? The devs like that first cutscene boss fight so much they use it again at the end of the game.
Why, Alistair? You have forced us outside all these years.
I've seen things I am condemned to remember. Civilizations born and destroyed by humanity's incessant greed. The pride of men slaughtering each other in the name of their so-called god.
So is every other knight in the Order. You've all lived for centuries, dude. You're the only one who can't deal. I like this ending a lot better when it was in Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Sequel baiting.
It was all rather... what is the word the Commissioner is so fond of? Oh yes, elementary.